In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the activity lifecycle. So I'm going to be breaking down the 6 stages associated with the activity lifecycle, as well as the 7 callbacks associated with those stages. Overview. Unlike other programming paradigms in which apps are launched with the main method, the Android system initiates code in an activity instance by invoking specific callback methods that correspond to specific stages of its lifecycle. There is a sequence of callback methods that start up an activity and a sequence of callback methods that tear down an activity. So you'll notice at the bottom here, stopped and destroyed are the stages of an activity's life, and then the callbacks associated with those are on create, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, on restart, and then finally on destroy. So keep this image in mind. If you have to, I would go back in the video and reference this as we're going over each one of these callbacks if you're getting a little confused. On create. Implement the onCreate method to perform basic application startup logic that should happen only once for the entire life of the activity. Your implementation of onCreate should define the user interface and possibly instantiate some class scope variables. We can think of this callback's method name as onCreate and prepare to display. That's probably a more descriptive name for onCreate. So as I've said here, essentially you want to do all the initialization stuff in your onCreate method. On start. Once the onCreate finishes execution, the system calls the onStart and onResume methods in quick succession. You should usually use the onStart callback method as the counterpart to the onStop method because the system calls onStart both when it creates your activity and when it restarts the activity from the stop state. We can think of this method or callback name as onVisible. OnResume. Once the onCreate finishes execution, the system calls the onStart and onResume methods in quick succession. When the user resumes your activity from the pause state, the system calls the onResume method. We can think of this callback name as onBeginInteraction. OnPause. Called as part of the activity lifecycle when an activity is going into the background but has not yet been killed. Allows you to stop ongoing actions that should not continue while paused, such as a video, or persist any information that should be permanently saved in case the user continues to leave your app. Can be thought of as on-pause interaction. So usually the on-pause callback is the first indicator that somebody is going to leave your application. On stop. Called when the activity is no longer visible to the user. The activity will next receive either on restart, on destroy, or nothing depending on later user activity. We can think of this callback name as on invisible. Once again, that's probably a more descriptive title for it. On restart. Called after on stop when the current activity is being redisplayed to the user. The user has navigated back to it. It will be followed by on start and then on resume. We can think of this as on prepare to display, right? Once again, a more descriptive title for on restart is on prepare to display. Finally, on destroy. The final call you receive before your activity is destroyed. This can happen either because the activity is finishing, someone called finish on it, or because the system is temporarily destroying this instance of the activity to save space. So that's actually going to do it for our video, guys. I hope you have a more in-depth understanding of the activity lifecycle and how we can use it to our advantage when creating Android applications in Android Studio. I'll see you in the next video.